begin by making acknowledgement. So I would like to acknowledge the territorial land we are gathering on today. I would like to thank and acknowledge the two local First Nations, the Squamish Nation and Tsleil-Waututh Nations, for keeping this land alive and healthy, and for the ability to live, work and heal in these lands. The speaker today is actually my son Ashkan, who's going back to school in September. He's a fourth-year student at Queen's University, and I am the mama bear in this story. So, Ashkan.
Hi everybody, my name is Ashkan, and today I'll be sharing a little narrative piece I wrote about me and my mom. So first off, I'd like to start by saying early happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. You guys are incredible, and I can speak for everyone in the room saying how incredible you guys are with making us who we are today. So I'll start by giving a little bit of background information about my mother and I before I read the piece. As some of you may know, I was born in England, where I grew up surrounded by our family, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, everyone. When we left and immigrated to Vancouver, I was about 5 years old, and I remember it being quite tough for me, my mom, and my dad. I vaguely remember how much my parents started to argue, and that I never really understood about what it was about, and the constant fighting was happening. A few years later, when I was 7, my parents got divorced. This time was obviously quite hard for everyone, but it definitely made me grow much closer to my mom, and finally understand what was happening with her and why the divorce probably occurred. In saying that, my mother suffers from bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is also known as a manic depressive illness, essentially a mental illness that is characterized by elevated moods and long periods of deep depression. The elevated moods can be quite severe. Sorry about that. The elevated moods can be quite severe and are diagnosed as mania or hypomania. During these highly volatile periods, a bipolar patient can have a series of symptoms, such as lack of sleep, having high energy, and a desire to make unattainable plans. Regarding risk factors for bipolar disorder, there has been a single cause to attribute to the illness. However, family history and genetic causes are predisposing factors to the illness. As of now, there are a few treatment options, such as psychotherapy, medication, and the one I'll be talking about in my piece today, ECT. Living with bipolar disorder is therefore a very delicate balance of managing symptoms, expectations, and most importantly, maintaining a hopeful outlook that things will get better. This piece I wrote was a period of very heavy pain for me. My mom had just left me in the summer after a manic episode that had been triggered from improper post-treatment from her electroconvulsive therapy. I was very lost during this time. My mom was everything to me, and not having her there with me was a very scary period of my life. Not knowing where she was, what she was doing, if she was alive, it haunted me every day. That preceding September, my grade 12 year English class, our teacher asked us to write a narrative about a strained relationship in our life with a family member. For me, all I could think about was my mother. It's not that we had a strained relationship, we have an amazing relationship, more powerful than anything else in my life. But right away, I just knew I had to write about it. For me, writing about my mother was a way writing about my mom was a way for me to move past what had happened and help her heal. It was a piece written with hope that one day she'd come back home and everything would be the same. After handing it in, I was actually asked by my teacher if she could share it from the class. I said no. It was, at the time, a very raw and recent experience that I was not comfortable sharing it. But now, more than 3 years later, it's something I would love to share with all of you. I hope it can convey how I felt and how maintaining hope and understanding of any mental health disorder can help towards the journey to full recovery and living a stable life. So without further ado, I'll begin the piece. So when I first titled the piece, it was called Lost, because at the time I was very just lost without my mom. But now I changed it to Me, My Mama Bear, which is to me more appropriate. So here's just some pics of me and my mom. Okay, so I'll start the piece. My relationship with my mom has always been strained. We have our similarities and our differences, but no matter what, she has always been the most important part of my life. The feeling is mutual. She's always told me, I live for you, I do everything for you, and I'll always protect you. The way a grizzly bear protects her cub. Ever since my parents' divorce, it's been like that. My mom and I to the end. That's what has made me so close to her. You could definitely call me a mama's boy. But there's always been one thing that has complicated everything. She unfortunately suffers from bipolar disorder, a manic depression illness that whips people from dramatic highs to dramatic lows. In my mom's case, it's quite unstable. When she's low, she can't function. When she's high, she's doing too much. This rarely affected our relationship. She would still do everything she could for me, and I would look after her. I never really understood what was going on until I went to a psychiatrist with her. She was crying. I was 8 and didn't really know what was going on, but I knew something wasn't okay. As the years progressed, I could see things were getting better. On her lows, I could feel her pain, as if my heart was sinking in my chest. When I saw her so down, unable to go to work, it pained me. It hurt me even more seeing her cry. She would still cook for me and look after me, no matter how down she felt. She did everything for me. But I wanted to do something for her. I wanted to fix her. I wanted to mend something unfixable, like trying to put together a shattered eggshell. She tried everything, all the medications, but nothing helped. It was slowly eating me up. I never spoke to anyone about it, but I was so scared I'd lose her. I kept it all bottled up. This past year, she made a decision that would change my life. Sitting side by side in the car stuck in traffic, she announced, "I've discussed with my psychiatrist. We decided to go ECT sessions." "What's ECT?" I asked, puzzled. ECT is a new treatment where they electrically shock and anesthetize patients. It's recommended to people with severe depression who have not responded to other treatments. When she told me this, my heart crashed. Electric shocks to my mom's brain? Is that safe? Is that legal? Will she die? Is it safe? I asked. Yes. Will you be okay? Yes. I don't want you to do it. What if something goes wrong? What if you forget who I am? Ashkan, do you want me to get better? Of course I did, but I hated this uncertainty. All these questions I had behind this unknown treatment. I'll be fine. It's done by professional doctors. You don't have anything to worry about. She started her treatment a few weeks later. I remember the gut-wrenching feeling I had in my stomach every time she entered the hospital. It was as if someone had taken a screwdriver and twisted my insides, and then I'd be overcome with a feeling of joy when I saw her home. Safe. My mom and bear safe, giving me her warmth. But as the sessions continued, and then finally were finished, things started to change. She was happy, boisterous to be exact. She was darting around everywhere, always busy, always up to something, filled with energy. At first, this was incredible for me to see, but then her personality started to change. She became more snappy and angered quickly. Whenever I questioned something she did, she'd snap and get upset. Mind your own business. She stopped telling me what she was doing. I was scared. She was putting me in the dark, not letting me know what she was up to. I felt as if I was in a dark cave, no idea what was going on or where I was. A few weeks passed, where I had no idea about her unknown adventures and what she was doing every day. I knew my mom. When she was on her high, she'd do anything. Get married, get divorced, buy a house, the most unstable things you can imagine. It was one day after school, though, when I came home, and she said something that changed my life. Lugging my backpack to our front door, I put the key in the lock. The door was stuck per usual, and I had to give it a little push to open it. I walked into the room with the aroma of her cooking. This put a grin on my face. I love my mom's cooking. However, as I turned the corner of the hallway, I saw her suitcases. 3 of them, open wide, filled with clothes and all of her belongings. "What's all this?" I asked. "I'm going away to Iran for a few months." "Why?" "Why is it your business where I'm going and what I'm doing?" "I'm going to see my family." "Because I'm your son. There's nothing in Iran for you. Why are you doing this?" "Because I'm a fixer and I do what I want. I need you to take me to the airport this weekend." I had finally understood. Whatever EC treatment she had gotten, it had changed her personality. She wasn't the same mother I knew. She wasn't putting me first, she was putting herself first, something she never would do. She was abandoning her baby cub. I walked into my room shocked, curled under my sheets and looking at my wall. The emptiness of the wall felt like a direct correlation to my heart. Nothing around it, all alone. My mom, the person who meant the most to me in my life, was leaving me. Something told me that this was the end, that these few months would change everything. I had that gut feeling that I would regret allowing her to leave, that something bad would happen. The screwdrivers were back again, wrenching my insides, making me gasp for air. I wanted my mom back, my real mom. Every minute passing was one less minute with my mom. The conversation was scarce. Eventually, she started getting mad at my driving and yelled at me to pull over. I did as I was told. She started to drive. I was now used to these sudden aggressive outbursts. I knew it wasn't my mom doing this though. It was the new person that had taken over her. To me, these outbursts were a cry for help. The rest of the drive was silent. We pulled into the airport, and the gut-wrenching feeling came back again. Was this the end? I became overwhelmed with anxiety and fear, all these emotions falling onto me like 100 bricks. We pulled into the departure spot, and I opened the door. The summer breeze hit my face, gently cooling me down. I went to the trunk and got her things. We were now facing each other. I started to cry. Please, Mom, don't go. Ashkan, don't be stupid. The way she worded these sentences was just so different. Who was this person? What had they done with my mother? My mom wouldn't say something like that. She would not leave me. Before she could go, I grabbed her and embraced her. Having in her arms, the warmth of her body made me feel safe for one last time, concealed in her love. I love you, Mom. Please stay safe. Contact me when you land. I involuntarily walked back to the car as if a gun was being pointed to my back. I got in, emotionless. I did not know what to feel, and then I started to cry again. Overwhelmed by my tears, the sudden rush of pain and sorrow. The days passed, and still no contact from her. No call, no email, nothing. I began to worry, started calling her family, asking where she was. No one knew. Every night I was overwhelmed with anxiety and stress. Then finally, a few days later, she emailed me. Ashkan, I'm not coming home. I'm a fixer and have more important things to do than come back to Vancouver. You are a man and do not need a mother. You are no longer my son. I read it again and again and again. It didn't make any sense. I could not process it. What had I done to deserve this? Why was she doing this to me? Why had she just abandoned me? I was lost, scared, anxious, overwhelmed. There was just simply too much pain circling me. The screwdriver had come back again, this time digging deeper. Months passed. I tried emailing her, contact her, reason with her. But every time she would respond with rude messages. Eventually it got more and more hostile, telling me she had disowned me as a son, that she hated me, that she didn't care for me or her family anymore. I couldn't understand where this was all coming from. Not long ago she would have died for me, sacrificed herself for me, and now she acts as if she was no longer my mother. How could this mental illness have overcome her to say things like this to me? The cruelty of the words tortured me day and night. Not having her by my side continues to pain me. She had cut us all out of her life so easily. We worry every day, but all know there's nothing we can do. That's what pains me the most, that I can't do anything to fix this. That I must pray every night that by a miracle she'll come home and come back to be the mom I love. The mother who would look after her baby cub and love him till death and protect him with her warmth. I'm tired of trying to understand. I know it's not her fault, that it isn't really her saying these things, doing these things. I know that deep down, she loves me. But right now, whatever is going on in her brain, she isn't herself. All I want back is her shield of love, the warmth that always protected me. Now all I have left from her is the warmth of my tears along my face every night when I think of her. Okay. So that's the piece. So I know it does end quite abruptly, with no real end in sight, not much hope, but a year after I wrote this piece, my mom did actually come home to me, and I was lucky enough to have her see me graduate from high school, which meant a lot to me, because at the time I didn't think it was ever a possibility. So that's us at my high school graduation, which was great to have. So, okay. So when she returned, she was very deeply depressed, like the worst I had ever seen it. But I knew it was very important for me not to receive her with anger for why she left me alone, but to be there for her and support her towards her recovery. Because for my mother, managing her bipolar isn't a weekly or even daily obligation. Every moment in some way must be dedicated to managing the illness. My mom was nice enough actually to share her mood chart with me, so I'll go over that in a second. It's basically just a chart tracking her and where she is in the past 6 years. So, for bipolar is a very delicate illness that any type of negative or positive stress can trigger a massive mood change, an outburst, or even a complete relapse. Therefore, the road to recovery for her was not a linear process, where one thing did this or one thing did that, but small steps that will eventually compound and grow exponentially towards recovery. So, I'm just going to go over this thing over here. So, okay, so as you can, I'll go over the legend first. So, the navy, the dark blue, is periods of my mom's deep depression. The slightly lighter blue is when she was just below her comfort zone, so just slightly depressed in a very trigger-prone region. The green periods are when she's in her comfort zone, when she's healthy, when she's stable, she can work, exercise, see her friends. Then the yellow is when she's just slightly outside her comfort zone, another trigger-prone area where any little stimulant can make her go to a manic stage or deep depression. And that leads to the red, which is the manic stage. So as you can see, through 2011, I'm not sure you can see the back, sorry about that. In 2011, she was in a very deep depression in the Navy. And even before then, 2010, 2009, she was also in that stage. And she had been trying all sorts of medications, seen many different psychiatrists, but nothing was really working. So in 2012, she elected to do ECT, which is just over here, right there. And initially, it worked, and you can see she went into a slightly above her comfort zone where the yellow is after the ECT. And when my mom is up and over that, she tends to not really listen to anyone. She'll be, if you tell her to do something, she'll do the opposite. She's very her own woman and very independent. So she decided to come off of her medication, and regardless of what anyone would say. And through that time, it led to a manic stage, which is the red. And this is when my mom left on her trip, put it that way. And so she was very, very high. We lost full contact with her. We come back down again. So you can see the red goes into the yellow, where she slightly became a little bit less manic. And then, unfortunately, that followed with a very, very deep depression. So about in December of 2012, she was deeply depressed, and she was in London at the time. Had bought her place, but unfortunately, we have a lot of family in London, and she had not made contact with any of them. So she was all alone in London, and I actually went to visit my family that Christmas, and I really wanted to see my mom. My family didn't really want me to see her because they knew how much it affected me and didn't want me to get upset again over it, but after a bit of persuasion, I went by myself to see her. It was definitely really hard seeing her in that stage. It was the most deeply depressed I've ever seen her in my life. And it was the first time I've seen her for 2 years, I think at the time almost, a year and a half.
9 months.
9 months, sorry. A year.
It's too tragic.
And it was a long time for me, and when it felt like 10 years for me. So then when I saw her, I had all these emotions. I was so see the state she was in, and I told her that she should definitely try to come back to Vancouver. Change of medications. So as you can see, it was followed by a lot of failures and accomplishments, where she was going up and down. But the whole point is that she kept trying and trying to get where she is today. So then we get to 2015, when she was deeply depressed, and then for me, where I realized what I could do was I started seeing a pattern in her depression. Where when I would go to school, because I go, as my mom mentioned, Kingston, Ontario was my school, Queens. When I would go there, she seemed to go into a depression again. And I'm not the best at keeping in touch with people, and I would call my mom maybe once, twice a week. But then I realized that when I came home and she became so happy, that I should make a more conscientious effort to call her more often. And by doing that, I feel like I was able to help her maintain being happy when I was gone. And I'm so thankful for this building over here, because my mom in 2015, which is KRC in the yellow, she started working here. She first started as a peer-to-peer support, which for her helped her so much in her recovery, and now she's working right here in the resource center. And for her, I think that was a big step to start working again and just be happy again. She also started exercising quite a bit, which helped a lot as well. What I need the most from you is support and your faith that everything can be fixed. Getting angry with the illness, trying to understand it, trying to understand why it is doing this just leads to frustration and a prolonged recovery. For me, that was the hardest part. Once I let go of the anger and frustration with the disorder itself, once I accept the fact of the matter and focus on my mom, what makes her happy, and what I do to make her life easier, and giving her hope so that things got better. And I honestly say that I cannot be happier with where we are right now. I love you so much.